Imagine living literally above the clouds. At 5,100 meters in the Peruvian Andes, the air pressure is so low that no tree can survive. To put that into perspective, this rocky basin sits 300 meters higher than the peak of Mont Blanc, the tallest mountain in the Alps. This diagram shows the harsh biological reality of that elevation. At sea level, your body breathes at a 100% oxygen baseline. Up here, that gauge drops to exactly half. Pushing a human into an environment with 50% less oxygen triggers severe altitude sickness, which can cause fluid to fatally accumulate inside the lungs. Yet wedged right into this freezing, trash-covered rock is La Rinconada. 50,000 people call this lethal environment home. Tens of thousands of residents didn't settle in this frozen wasteland by accident. They endure these extremes to play a desperate, high-stakes economic lottery hidden deep inside the mountain. Because the settlement is so isolated, municipal infrastructure simply does not exist. There are no paved roads, zero sewage systems, and wastewater flows openly down the streets. When nighttime temperatures drop to -10 degrees Celsius, families huddle inside metal shacks built directly on top of the permafrost, entirely without central heating. The atmospheric conditions make conventional agriculture impossible. You won't find a blade of grass taking root anywhere in the soil, which is exactly why the town's only soccer field has to rely entirely on vibrant green artificial turf instead of natural grass. To function through the constant nausea and dizziness, locals rely on traditional workarounds. They chew handfuls of dried coca leaves, tucking them into the side of their mouths to produce a mild numbing effect that helps the body endure the relentless altitude sickness. Basic survival here requires a massive daily toll on the human body. People knowingly subject themselves to this physical deterioration for one highly specific reason. This calendar breaks down the town's core economic engine, an outdated, illegal labor system called the cachorreo. Under this arrangement, a miner hauls rock in unventilated tunnels for 30 consecutive days. For that entire month of intense physical labor, their guaranteed paycheck is exactly zero. But on the 31st day, the rules flip. For a single 24-hour window, the miner is allowed to keep whatever raw gold ore they can physically extract and carry out of the tunnels. Since the payout relies entirely on luck, miners try to hedge their bets. During their unpaid month, if they spot a particularly promising rock, they might quietly pocket it or stash it in a secret spot, waiting to retrieve it when their extraction day finally arrives. Once they secure the ore, there are no banks available to deposit the profits. Miners take their yield directly to unregulated local exchange stalls, trading the raw gold through heavy iron bars to collect their earnings in cash. The cachorreo system transfers 100% of the financial risk away from the mining companies and directly onto the workers. A miner can exhaust themselves for an entire month, risk their life in the dark, and walk away with nothing but empty pockets. The financial risk is secondary to the physical toll. The labor takes place deep inside the mountain, within cramped tunnels heavily polluted with explosive gases. To compensate for the lack of oxygen here, the human body forces an extreme adaptation. It produces twice as many red blood cells, turning the blood into a thick, dense sludge. Pumping this thick blood puts massive strain on the heart, frequently leading to severe vascular blockages. Combined with the grueling labor, the average lifespan for a resident drops to 35 years. The extraction process compounds the danger. This visualization illustrates the heat treatment miners use to separate the precious metal. For every single gram of pure gold recovered, 2 entire grams of highly toxic mercury are evaporated directly into the atmosphere. That invisible poison settles back onto the mountain. Cyanide and mercury leach into the soil, thoroughly contaminating the local agricultural water and the melting glaciers the town relies on for hydration. The miners trade their cellular health and immediate environment for a chance at raw ore. This chart reveals exactly what drove the massive migration to this lethal environment. Between 2001 and 2012, the global price of gold multiplied 6-fold. As the valuation spiked, La Rinconada's population surged to 50,000, pulling in desperate workers from across Peru. Despite the mountain generating immense unregulated wealth over that decade, the Peruvian government has invested virtually nothing back into the town. Law enforcement is minimal. and the entire city lacks a proper hospital. This scale demonstrates the sheer inefficiency of the entire global trade driving this settlement. To isolate enough gold for a single 8-gram ring, workers must carve out and leave behind approximately 20 tons of contaminated waste rock. Larincanada stands as a permanent monument to human desperation. Tens of thousands of people endure a toxic, freezing, and shortened life here, willingly rolling the dice every 30 days for a statistical sliver of hope.